I've spent about $20,000 on self-care in the last year alone. That's not a flex, it's investment advice. After my husband's betrayal and our separation, I've basically treated healing as a full-time job for the last year because I know that God's purpose for me is to flourish, not just for my sake, not just for my daughter's sake, but for the sake of other people who need healing. If you're like me, you've been way more generous to other people than you have been to yourself. I really do love pouring out to others, but with all the depletion and devastation, I had to actually work hard to allow God to fill me up again. I had been surviving on unhealthy lifestyle choices, so I invested in a program that would help me literally reverse the bodily damage from the first era of my life. This time last year, I really struggled with polycystic ovarian syndrome, fatigue, and inflammation in my gut, which was terribly exacerbated by the mental and emotional stress of discovering my husband wasn't who I thought he was. And it wasn't just about dieting, it was about cultivating the disciplines through supplements, food choices, honoring your body, mind, and spirit that would help me regulate and operate better for the new season. I attended community support groups and individual coaching for women who had been betrayed because that is a very nuanced, specific type of trauma. And it was critical for me feeling my way out of this fog of war, and I'm endlessly grateful for those other women who I could empathize with and for the coaching that I received. I set inner healing and deliverance as a separate category because spiritual encounters make the difference between managing loss and grief and overcoming it. Like, we have to allow God to heal trauma at the root. I have an arrangement with my spiritual mentor and deliverance coach where I pay what I can afford so that others who can't afford ministry can have their costs covered. Another activity that removed me from my 24/7 focus on understanding and dealing with the death of my marriage was improv. I started watching shows at my local theater and attending workshops, and I realized that cheap laughs do wonders as medicine for the soul. So instead of screaming with grief into a pillow, I would be crying from laughing so hard. And for the first time, I left my daughter with my family, and I traveled to Texas and California to prophetic conferences where I would just spend time rediscovering myself with God. It is the first time I've ever been content being alone. Last but not least, I love net sports like tennis and ping pong, so picking up this new sport was a lifesaver and a highlight during a very dark time. I cried when I said goodbye to my pickleball coach. Love you, Kristen. After living in Dubai for 7 years, I'm well aware that $20,000 is more than most people earn in a year. And I'm committed to being a servant to the Lord, to minister to not just the financially poor, but the poor in spirit. Ultimately, I see finances as a tool to be stewarded well and to love people well. And you might find yourself in a season where the person that God wants to bless is you. Now I'm grateful that God is releasing me to share the fruits.